Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from theshrinkapasture.com.
And together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Welcome back, and welcome, boy. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well as well.
Yeah?
I'm pretty well. So, we want to get to smoking. So, what I have here is a brand new tin of W.O. Larsen 2016. Premium pipe tobacco since 1864. And it said that this was made to celebrate the beginning of New Year. W.O. Larsen offers the edition tin. The tobacco is carefully selected. And well, here I'll get this going. You read the back of this package.
I feel like we're smoking at the wrong time of year. Then, where'd you get this?
I bought it at JR's.
Okay.
I was wandering through JR's the other day looking for something that I had not smoked, and there's a lot of tobacco there, but nothing else that I hadn't smoked. So
This is a striking new mixture. The base of this flavorful blend is a mix of bright and deep mahogany-colored Virginia tobacco. Just the right amount of black Cavendish and Oriental tobacco leaves are added to create complementary fragrant and spicy notes. As a finishing touch, vanilla, coconut, and coffee aromas are introduced, making the final blend a remarkable composition.
We'll see about that.
Body 2, aroma 5, room note 5.
Body 2.
So that's on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being low and 5 being high.
Well, I'm trying to leave as much of this.
It's going to be aromatic, and there's not much to it. Is what I'm saying.
Trying to leave as much of this bag intact so I can seal it.
That's not happen.
And that was a huge mistake.
That's what the tin is for.
It's aromatic.
Do you smell the coconut and coffee notes yet?
It smells a
Oh,
little
that
bit,
comes at the end.
It smells a little bit like Play-Doh.
What? It smells a little bit like Play-Doh. That's interesting.
All right, so to our topic of discussion for the day. In case you missed it, Glen Campbell died yesterday.
Oh no, that's so sad. I don't know who that is. I mean, it's sad that someone died, but I think he was old, right?
He's 81.
Yeah, it's time.
Glen Campbell, singer back in the 60s. Interesting evolution in his career. He, from what I understand, he started out as a session guitarist, also do some backup singing for some groups. He was, I think, maybe an unofficial member of the Wrecking Crew. If you remember the Wrecking Crew. The Wrecking Crew was a house band and a group of studio musicians that played with Phil Spector and with the Beach Boys. So when Brian Wilson stayed back and the rest of the band went off and toured, like for example Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys didn't play any of their music. Their music was played by the Wrecking Crew, and Glen Campbell was one of the stringed instrument musicians. He could play pretty much anything that was a stringed instrument. When Brian Wilson decided that he wasn't going to tour at all, he was for a very short time replaced by Glen Campbell. So Glen could fit the shirts that they wore. He could play a guitar, and he could fill in for Brian Wilson. Well, right at the time that he started doing that, his solo album was released. And his solo album was a huge hit. And so by the time he finished his commitment to that tour, he was done and quickly left the band. And then Bruce Johnston, this is not about the Beach Boys, but that's the evolution. To this day, Bruce Johnston is in the Beach Boys.
Okay.
So I always thought Glen Campbell was a songwriter. Turns out all of his hits were not written by him, but he had a particular songwriting partner that wrote. Once this guy learned how well Glen could sing his music, he started writing music for Glen to sing. So most famous song everyone knows, Rhinestone Cowboy. Gentle on My Mind, maybe you don't know the title of it, but if you started hearing it, you would immediately recognize it. Wichita Lineman, Galveston, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, a bunch of songs like that. I mean, these are bordering on country western, but they were pop hits.
Okay.
And about 3 years ago, it was announced that he has Alzheimer's. I can never pronounce that correctly. Alzheimer's. That's the way I'm going to say it. Alzheimer's. and that they did one last tour with his family. His family was basically his band there at the end. And they also released a book. And the name of the book, I want to say, is something like I Won't Miss You. Kind of a nod to the fact that he won't remember you anyway, so he's not going to miss you. And then he died yesterday at the age of 81. So very, very sad for me. And it hit me harder than I would have ever expected. I've never seen him in concert. I've never bought a ticket to any of his things. But when he was influential around 1967, I think, I would have been a young kid. I was born in 63. So I would have been about 4 years old. And I was hearing the music that my mom was playing and seeing the artists that were on TV when my mom was watching TV. My folks, but mostly my mom. My mom was, she would never say it, but she was in love with guys like Glen Campbell and John Denver, those pretty blonde guys. And Glen Campbell also went on to do some acting. Most famously, he was in True Grit with John Wayne, so which was recently remade, poorly but remade. So the other thing I was thinking about here this last week, and I wanted to talk with you about, next week I'm going to be in Cincinnati. Actually, I'm going to be in northern Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati. And as I got to looking around for hotels to do some training in,
You gonna see Burly Man and Boontar?
I've thrown out a line to them. So
Sweet.
maybe. I mean, I'm going to be all of 5 minutes from Strauss there in
Better
in
make the
Florence.
trip if you can.
So I'll be very, very close. So I'm staying at the airport, basically.
So what you're saying is your Instagram is going to be excellent that week.
It'll be Hampton
Potentially.
Inns and
I know.
pictures.
I know it's always hard when you're traveling for work to fit in the time,
But
hopefully.
I was talking with one hotel about the possibility of having our meeting there, and that was in Southgate. And as I'm thinking about Southgate, I know Southgate. Where do I know Southgate from?
Glen Campbell.
Close.
Oh.
John Denver. In 1977, I think it was, the Beverly Hills Supper Club fire took place. And you don't remember any of this, but in 1977, how old would I have been? About 14, right? Again, 77, 67, yeah, about 14. And it was the first time I really became aware of a major news event that was kind of close by. We were living in the Dayton area, and this was only maybe 75 miles south of us, just south of Cincinnati. And it was a supper club that had begun, I think, in the 1950s, and it was a complex that grew and grew over the years due to success. And it was everything from a theater with a stage and a show where John Denver was playing, all the way down to very small rooms where maybe some locals would go and play poker illegally.
Right.
But it was super popular, and it was very, very crowded that day when a fire started in some far-off end of the building. And everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. The people that discovered the fire opened the door to the room that had the fire, causing a backdraft. The fire spread to the drop ceiling. And I guess it was the construction of it, because it was built over the years, was very convoluted. And there were like some rooms that you had to pass through other occupied rooms to get to those rooms, and hallways that would wind. And by the time the employee who was running and telling people that there was a fire, look at that spider.
Hello.
By the time he got to the far end of the theater where John Denver was performing, the fire was already hitting the theater. It spread that fast. And there were slightly fewer, I don't know the number here, slightly fewer than 200 people died. Another 200 people were injured. And I remember the descriptions that they had as they came in after the fire, and they found people stacked like cordwood in doorways. So, what limited exits they had, people were crowding through and getting stuck in, and somebody would fall and someone would fall over them. And just a horrible, horrible thing. But what came out of that was the change in construction laws and laws about electrical. It was an electrical fire that kicked it all off. And it was also, again, talk about my memory as a kid, it was the first time I paid attention to and learned who Geraldo Rivera was. Because he really did an expose, an investigation on what caused the fire. And it turned out a big part of what he had discovered was they were using what was then kind of a new form of electrical wiring that was made of aluminum. But it had to be used with aluminum switches, aluminum outlets, because the way the connection was made, if you used dissimilar metals, you would have corrosion and other problems.
Yeah,
Well,
dielectric union.
yeah, what happened was they got cheap, and when they priced the aluminum fixtures, they realized, oh, they were too expensive, so they used the aluminum with the standard fixtures. This is my memory. I mean, I haven't studied it since I was in high school.
Yeah.
I guess. Fast forward to last week, I was in Toronto, Canada, and I'm in a hotel that used to be an old mill. And then onto that mill, they added a restaurant, and they added a gift shop, and then they added a convention hall, and a chapel, and a this, and a that, and a that, and a this. And the first day there, I kind of had a freak out moment. I had to go downstairs, down a huge hallway that was winding. It was like if they used the hallways for building rooms, if they'd reconfigured it, they would have probably twice the square footage that they actually were able to occupy. I literally at one point had to go up a staircase to then go down another staircase to get to our conference room. And all the while I'm noticing the lack of exits, the lower floor, all this, again, convoluted hallways. And if the power had gone out and there was smoke, it'd be the end. And the other thing about this is it wasn't, I don't know what the Canadian version of ADA, but it wasn't up to American code for disabilities. And so here I am with my bad knees, dragging some luggage and things, and it was wearing me out. Mm-hmm. By the rest of the week, I would leave the exit of the conference room and walk down the sidewalk outside to the front of the building.
That's easier.
To go to the hotel to where I could catch an elevator up to my room. Yeah, I couldn't take it. And so that, combined with thinking about Cincinnati and what had happened at the Beverly Hills Supper Club, was a little creepy to me. Have you ever had a situation like that where maybe you never worried about something and then you got educated about it and then suddenly you're realizing that there's a danger potential?
When I was in elementary school and they showed us a video about black widow spiders, start freaking out.
Really?
Every spider. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they talk about how the black widows like to go into dark places, and so this video showed them nesting in shoes.
I remember you getting freaked out about shoes. I forgot all about that.
And yeah, you never know what's hiding underneath. Now, I've since learned that while they are dangerous and while the bite will hurt, it's not going to kill you, probably, if you get treated quickly. And when I went to summer camp many years ago, 15 years ago, there were black widows everywhere. And as a counselor, I was constantly capturing them, catching them, killing them, burning them.
Oh my God.
Doing whatever ways we could get rid of them.
Did you warn the kids about their shoes?
No. 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 And I also learned at that point that black widows are they don't all have the hourlet glass on their belly. There are other designs. So the ones in the forest in Virginia, they had black dots, a series of black dots on the back of the body. Red dots. A series of red dots on the black body. There's no hourglass, but they were in fact black widows.
Is it Morse code for time or something?
Yeah.
Tempest Fugit.
No. So that was that's an example. No, I've been to buildings that are old and like that. I found that with a lot of churches. A lot of older churches are designed in such a way that it feels like, and I think because in a lot of times it actually is that some of the layout and design was an afterthought. churches that have been around for 100 years,
Yeah.
and
Populations grow.
that's right, and instead of tearing down and starting over, they just add on, and yeah, it can be like going through a labyrinth. So, been there.
I mean, at least the chapel area, which I could imagine you had folks get married and bringing their grand folks in. That at least was on the ground floor and just inside from the entrance.
Sure.
But until I was there for 2 days, I didn't know where the restrooms were on the ground floor. And my conference room was up a staircase, down a staircase from the ground floor. But to go to the restroom, I had to go up the staircase, down the staircase, and then down a long, almost spiral staircase to get to the restroom.
Yeah.
And finally, on the halfway through the second day, I'm like, my knees are killing me.
Yeah.
We've been running all over town and doing things, and it's like, I'm going to find an empty ashtray or a planter or a bathroom before I go up and down another staircase. Thank goodness I found a restroom.
Yeah, I ran into that at when we stayed at the Marriott in San Antonio. My room was on the opposite end of the building, and by opposite, I mean that the building was shaped like an X, and my room was on one leg, and the conference area was on the end of the other leg, and so I had to go down.
Conference area.
So I had to go down, around, through the lobby, and all the way back over, and that was down 2 escalators, or 3 escalators, and up an elevator. I literally was the furthest room on the end hall, and I discovered to get to the conference area, to get to the presentation area, it was faster for me to go down the emergency exit, which only after going down 2 flights of stairs where there's no door, does the door at the very bottom tell you, don't exit this unless an emergency.
Right.
And so I risked it. I'm like, I'm not going back up those stairs. You're kidding me? I'm not going back. And so discovered that thankfully there is no alarm on that.
At least not an audible alarm.
That's right. And so that exited me here and let me cross the parking lot in a straight line to the other end of the building. And that was the faster way to go.
Would be. Straight line?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, I need to change the profile that I have for all my hotel stays, because I set my profile up when I was a healthy, tired man, and I wanted to be on a high floor as far away from the elevator as possible, so the elevator noises weren't waking me up and the street noises weren't waking me up. I was in a hotel in New York recently, and true to my profile, high floor, far down the hallway, my knees were killing me. I did okay. The elevators weren't working the day we went to check out, so I had to carry my luggage down several flights of stairs, and I need to change that.
In Albuquerque, I was my room took. I arrived at the hotel at 2:30. They told me my room would be ready by 3. At 4:30, I went up to the desk to ask what the status was, and I said, "Oh, your room is ready." And I said, "Well, I hope you've given me the." He said, "I meant to tell you." Because I gave him my phone number, and I was sitting right there in the lobby the whole time. He never called, never mentioned anything. I said, well, I hope that you have given me the I forgot about you super awesome deluxe room. And he said, well, I'll go ahead and throw in access to the executive lounge. Okay, cool. So you have to have a special key card access to get up to the 8th floor of the hotel, and they have free drinks and food, and so it was a pretty cool
Hilton
perk.
property?
It is a Hilton adjacent. I forget what the branch was, but it's a Marriott partner.
Okay.
And so get up there. Well, one of the days that we're up in the 8th floor lounge, the fire alarm goes off.
Sorry, sir, you can't take the elevator.
And an announcement says, you're not allowed to take the elevator. I said, screw this. So I waited long enough to be burnt. I asked the woman in the lounge. I asked her. I said, how often is it a false alarm? She said, usually. I said, does it happen often? She said, about once a month. I said, okay,
I'm risking it.
I'm gonna wait a few minutes and risk it. So I stood outside of the elevator waiting for 5 minutes, 8 minutes before they finally came over and said that there was a fire in the laundry room, but it had been put out. Like, all right.
You know, Briscoe had a night where, my buddy Briscoe, where the fire alarm went off twice. And the first time it went off, he threw some clothes on and went outside the parking lot. And they said it was a false alarm. So he went back in, got undressed, got in the bed. The alarm went off again. He threw some clothes on, just enough to get by. Sorry, false alarm. He went back in, he got fully dressed, and just went to sleep on the chair. And sure enough, the next alarm came, and he walked out, grabbed his luggage, went to his car, and he was done.
Yeah.
So, anyway, curious about you. A couple things. Favorite Glen Campbell song? Write that in the description below. And if you have any story that dovetails with what we're talking about here, something maybe that you weren't aware of, and then when you became aware of it, suddenly it instilled a fear in you. You know, for me, it was just that I got that hinky feeling, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't know what that is.
would never have occurred to me. What do you think of this tobacco?
I think it is an aromatic tobacco. I think it's fine.
Yeah. It is?
I'm not going to be dreaming about it, but I didn't hate it either.
I tell you what, though, that is a poor bag for sealing. We will have to find a way to seal that, and maybe we'll talk about that next week.
Put it back in the tin.
Upside down. Put it upside down. Gosh. Make it a great week.
See you guys.